Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. My name is Dennis. I'm the organizer of this group. Today, we're going to be talking about how to think about AI-powered content marketing. Our presenter is Cathy McPhillips, Chief Growth Officer at Marketing Artificial Intelligence Institute. Cathy is going to share lessons learned over the last 10 months at Marketing AI Institute. She started as a customer a few years ago, then was hired last year to lead growth, including marketing and customer experience, and has since begun piloting some projects with AI-powered martech. What you'll learn is that content marketing is ready for AI, and marketers need to prepare now for an inevitable future. Cathy's going to walk us through a few use cases and answer any questions you have. Cathy, thanks for joining us, and take it away.
Thank you. This is a nice size group. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and this presentation. Okay. So, just how to think about it. I come from almost a decade at the Content Marketing Institute, amazing organization, with the mindset of, really focusing on content creation, storytelling, and everything. And everything I've learned over the past 10 months has been like, oh, we really can find tools that would better help us to have time to do all the storytelling, all the things we really want to be doing. So there's me. That is really big on my screen. So jumping into AI. So Demis Hassabis, he is the founder of DeepMind, which is now part of Google. And his definition that we like to use here is just AI is the science of making machines smart. Simple as that. And Paul, our CEO, has, from a marketing perspective, is that marketing AI is really just the science of making marketing and marketers smart. So we can teach machines to be like humans. We can give them the ability to do all of these things for us. They can understand things, they can predict things. And this was a text with my daughter yesterday. She's like, what is AI? And I said, it really is the ability for a computer to do some things that humans are normally done by humans. So kind of plain and simple. And then we'll dive into a little bit of the hows. So we're using AI every single day in our personal lives. Spotify is recommending what music you want to hear based on your preferences. Amazon is knowing what products you might buy. Here's me crafting an email to Dennis that's autofilling the words. So that all of that is AI. Netflix knowing that you watched Schitt's Creek, and here's what they're recommending next based on your viewing history. So all of these things. So as you can see, it's populating right there. And I was typing really slow, but all of the the email that I was going to send to Dennis after this saying thanks for having me on. So an algorithm is really just a set of really, really well-defined instructions that tell machines what to do. And the difference with algorithms versus AI is that AI, the machine can learn from what it's doing. It's taking those algorithms, it's seeing what the results are, it's determining new paths without the human having to always intervene. And AI can do a couple things. It can reduce costs by making things more repetitive, or taking out the repetitive data-driven tasks that we're doing, so that'll reduce costs, it'll save time. It'll also, based on predictions and things like that, it can drive your revenue up. These are just a few stats we have. We did a report in 2020 before I started with Drift on the state of AI in the marketing world. And 52% say it's really, really important, critically and very important, that they, the success over the next 12 months. However, 77% of marketers currently, less than a quarter of their tasks are intelligently automated in some capacity. But 80% believe that over the next 5 years, that way more than that will be automated. So we're heading in the right direction. Technology is getting smarter. The technologies that we're using right now that currently aren't powered by AI are realizing they really need to do something more to help their customers, to be more beneficial to their customers. So here's what I've learned. You don't need to be a machine learning engineer or a data scientist to use AI technology. You just need to know the outcome. And one of the analogies I use is, I don't need to know how an engine on a car works, how to fix a car, how the inner workings of a car work to drive a car. I just need to know it's going to get me from point A to point B. And you need to have an interest. I know people that I know on this call, I know that you are thinking ahead. You're like, what's next? What can I be doing? What can I be doing better, smarter, faster? So just having that interest, genuine interest in seeing what's out there, I think is really important to have. And just having the smarts of looking at problems a little differently, trying to find a use case, and I'll dive into that in a little bit, and be savvy enough to find the tech. And I think that's one of the harder things is like when you are looking at technology, say you're looking at marketing automation, you're looking at one that has AI in it, one that doesn't. Like, what questions do you ask? How do you approach those technologies? And how do you determine what's best for you? And how, if you can actually use, if you have the people on your team or you that can actually use the AI in those systems. And whether you're fresh out of college or whether you've been in the industry for as long as I have, you can drive this digital transformation within your organization. And then all of this gives you time to do things you really want to be doing, being empathetic, building a culture within your organization, being creative, being strategic, all of these things that you really, really want to be doing, but you don't have that time because you're doing writing social media posts, drafting some copy, writing an outline, things like that, and analyzing a chart that AI can be helping you with, that you're still doing it, but AI is just going to help you do it faster and smarter. Put in the chat. So this is one of Paul's charts that Rich saw earlier today, but this is how we look at technologies, that there's level 0 where the marketer, it's all marketer. There is no technology involved, and there's up to level 4, which is fully autonomous. The machine's doing everything. There's no marketer in the mix at all. Level 4 is not a thing right now. If a technology says to you that they either are mistaken or they're lying to you. So keep that in mind. And then, so right now, the technologies that are AI powered are really at level 1 and level 2. It's helping marketers. It has limited automation, but really the marketer is the one powering it. So when people talk about it's making my job obsolete, no, it's not. It's going to help you do your job faster. You might need to pivot what you're doing or learn a different way or learn how to use technology differently, but you're not going to lose your job. My daughter's a journalism major, and I keep telling her, she doesn't want to be at a newspaper or on TV, but I do tell her, I said, this is just going to help you be able to do those things that you love so much. So here are some examples of AI. Natural language generation, you maybe see NLG or NLP when people are talking about artificial intelligence. So natural language generation is simply the computer writing words for you, with you providing some information. I'll show you one of my examples. So I think natural language generation is a big thing with AI that people see a lot. There's text to speech, there's transcribing videos for you, things like that, or is all part of the language. Vision, I haven't gotten into too much, but here's some examples of vision, and then predicting and forecasting and things like that with all this data. We were at a point 10 years ago where we were trying to collect more data on our customers, and now I think we have so much data, and AI can really help us break down all those things and make our data more actionable and usable. So here are the 5 steps that, me as a marketer who is at my company, I'm doing emails, I'm doing the website copy, I'm doing social media, I am helping with sales, I'm doing everything from a marketing perspective. I'm editing videos. I shouldn't be editing videos, but I am. So how can I find some tools that can take some of these things off my plate? So one, come to our intro to AI if you're interested, but there's so many things on our blog that can kind of get you into that. If you just Google AI plus content marketing, AI plus email marketing, some of our content might surface, but there are so many resources out there. You just do a quick Google search and you'll find some stuff. And then picking some use, I guess I jumped from 3, now I'm going back up to 2. Pick some use cases, some quick wins. Like I knew, one example I'm going to go into is we have an event, MACON, the Marketing Artificial Intelligence Conference, and I had to write copy for social media posts, for our emails, for our blog. And it was just like, okay, where do I start? So I look at this, I'm in this blank sheet of paper in Word, and I'm just like, okay, where do I start? And I was like, I'm going to try to see if I can use AI. So I'm going to show you that example. So that was like a very quick win. It gave me some information. It was narrowly defined. I knew exactly what the outcome was. And it was highly likely to succeed because it was giving me more than I had, which was nothing. And then as far as the value is concerned, it saved me 5 hours. And again, I'm kind of bearing the, or, talking about the lead right now, what I'm going to show you, but it got me closer to achieving my goals because it saved me 5 hours of my life. And then as we get into like the bigger tech versus the things I'm using right now, just making sure that if you're going to spend a lot of money, I mean, there are some really, really powerful AI tools out there that are really, really expensive, but it's all relative. Like is it saving your company so much money? Is it making your conversion so much higher so you're making that much more money? But it is a big investment for some of the tools. So if you're going to get that tool, do you have the people that are going to use it? Because even with general marketing automation tools, and I see Kyle nodding his head, like if you're not going to use all the resources that the tool's offering, find something else. Or like start small, I guess is what I'm saying. So let me go into a few of my experiences. Easy one is Grammarly. I don't know if any of you are using Grammarly, but that's AI. So when you log in, you can say, here's the things, that I want. I know that my audience knows some things on this already. I want to stay, I don't want to be too formal, but I don't want to be like super informal because just the topic lends itself more to a neutral or formal audience. Right now, I guess I went to all the defaults, but I can go through and I can pick, if you know me, you know that I'm really not stuffy. So my copy, if you read something from me and it doesn't sound like me, people are going to know. So I can take the tone that, optimistic and joyful and things like that. And you can pick all that. So that's just a base starting point for Grammarly. So as you're writing and it's analyzing what you're doing, it is saying to you, you're like, this doesn't sound like you, or here's a suggestion that we might offer to you. So I just cut one of a few paragraphs from our website, and you can see that I'm showing you one example, but Grammarly is saying, you're being too wordy. What else can we do here? And there are other times when it could say, again, this doesn't sound like you, or, this sounds negative and you're usually not negative. So how can we switch it up for you? And it's offering to rewrite the sentence for me, for example. And then it kind of takes all of your content and says, okay, you're sounding the way you're expecting to be sounded. And then I also wanted to throw in I've written over 1 million words since June, which kind of is shocking, but it's also very fun how they're gamifying that and making, you can see all those things on my weekly emails from Grammarly. So it's really cool for me to see, yes, I'm kind of staying on that track of my copy is all sounding like me. It's sounding similar. We're staying on brand. We're staying the course. So that's really helpful for me to see every single week. And then this is copy.ai. So I'm just going to talk while this video is playing. So they just started a free tool. So you start really simply entering a title of your project, and that's not public, that's just for you. So I typed in our website, typed in 100 words of copy. So the product again was just our conference. And I put in marketing AI conference because at least there were some keywords in there versus just Maycon, which might not be understandable by a computer. And then I just started typing in some stuff about the event. And I was trying to hit on some key points, talking about the size of it, talking about when it was, where it was going to be held, who would be there, what would be covered, things like that. And then I'll show you what the computer did in a second. But it's just crazy how, I'm like, I don't know, this is just something that I know it's free. They've got a free 2-week trial. I'm just going to give it a spin. And then I did this. And then it was just like, I can't even believe this happened. Then I changed the tone to persuasive because I want people to buy tickets to the event. So I hit create and boom, there are gobs and gobs and gobs of content. So I can go through and I could say, okay, well, there was one up there I just saw that it said, CVS is coming to speak. Cleveland Clinic's coming to speak. This company's coming to speak. No, they're not. I mean, Cleveland Clinic might. But I'm going to go through now and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to change part of this sentence, and it's going to go through then and change every other thing where it says that. It'll change every other thing below it. So I can go through and I can say, this is one I really liked. I can add a date in because, whoops, this one didn't include it, but I want to make sure people know about it. I can then save all this. I can export it all into Word. I can save that one. I can hit, I really like this one. Can you write more like this? So what I did from this was I took this took all this document, I put it into Word, and I probably didn't do all the AI I could have, but I started saying, okay, I'm tweaking this for Twitter, a Twitter length, I'm tweaking this for an email subject, for the website, all these different things. And but like I said, it just, some of them were kind of cruddy, honestly, but like I just deleted that one. I didn't need to use it. And some of them were good and some of them were really, really good. And what I liked about it was two things. One, the time savings, which I keep saying, but the other thing was I wouldn't write something like the premier conference for marketing AI professionals. That's not something that I would usually say. So right now I'm A/B testing in our emails to see if any of this copy, all things equal, if my copy is different for the event, if what's going to resonate more with our audience. So it's been interesting for me to test subject lines, for me to test copy, to test social media posts, to see maybe the computer has something that I'm not thinking of, and I can learn from that and grow. So this was just a free 2-week trial when I started using it, and now they've opened up a freemium version where you can just go in and you can do simple things, and then you could, if you want more, then you just pay a little bit a month. I don't think it's an exorbitant cost, but just pretty cool that this is AI. So that was one of my examples. And then this was one I talked about earlier today. So a Zoom recording, which I'm sure we've all seen the back end of Zoom. So we did our intro to AI. Like I said, this was our last one we just did a couple of days ago. Downloaded the files from Zoom, and then I put them into a tool called Descript, DESCRIPT. And I think it's like $30 a month for this. And it transcribed a video for me. I was able to go in and listen to voices and say whether it was me or whether it was Paul. And it did an okay job. We talked over each other a little bit, so it was kind of not perfect, but pretty darn close. And then when I got to the point where I needed to edit the video, so kind of like today, we were chit-chatting before the intro to AI started. And then at one point, Paul said, okay, I think we're going to get started. And he starts the intro. So everything before that, I wanted to cut out. I'm not a video editor. I can do like iMovie where you take the little thing and you drag it where you want to cut it. And that's just time consuming for me because that's not something I excel at. What I learned in Descript is I could go through and I could actually highlight the text I want deleted, and it cuts the video for me. So I was like, I can edit videos now. It's just so cool that I can do something, so easy that it's, I just found the part where Paul said, well, let's get started. And I took everything above it, highlighted it, deleted it, and that cut the whole front of the video off. So, and there's places you can drop in, just like any other video editing, I could drop in an intro and outro, all those other things, but the editing of the actual video itself, I can go through here and I can delete and it would cut that out of the video. So it's just so cool the way that works. So part of this process was we do this intro, and then I write a blog post about it. I put a snippet on YouTube, like one thought from, 15, 30 seconds of the video to put it on YouTube for someone to hear. Here's one thing you can learn about AI. And then I'm going to, and I said, I want to put so the captions on it, because I want to make sure that people, if they're at work or if they need access, if they can't listen to it, they can see, hear what's going on or read what's going on. So I did the one video, the whole hour-long video. I then created a second version where I did a snippet, did the same process of just cutting the text. And then I exported those as MP4s, and I took the smaller one and I uploaded it into YouTube. And then, so I took, this is me showing how you can cut the text, but then I took the words, the transcript, and I uploaded that with the video into YouTube. And YouTube matched up Paul's words to his voice precisely. I went through here and I checked every single thing he was saying was matched up. I didn't do anything except for upload the video, put the text in, and it matched up everything perfectly. So that's AI, because AI is listening to him and understanding what words match with what part of what he's talking about. So there are probably things you're using AI for and don't even realize it, like this. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So the only time that I had to fix anything on here was at the end. At the end of this video, I have a CTA to attend our next intro to AI, or to take it. I think it was either that or it was coming to Macon, where there were still words on the screen at the end, and I had to go through and kind of finagle a little bit to have the caption go off so people could read the whole outro on the video. That's it. So that took me no time at all. So that was pretty cool. And that's AI. That's AI learning from both what I'm doing and something like YouTube is taking what they've learned, what they're learning from all of their customers. So it doesn't need to be just machine learning what I'm doing necessarily, but it's learning from, it's learning the right things for the right reason. So that, you know, that was one of them. And then this is another one called Hyperwrite. I don't think I did a video on this one. I did. So similar to copy.ai, you can just go in, you can type in whatever you want. So, you know, I just did content marketers should consider technologies using artificial intelligence. And I wanted to see what it would give me. And I see there's a lot of people in the chat, and I can't click on the chat while this is going. So we can hopefully just discuss those when I can turn off my screen share. So Mike, our chief content officer, has been using this for a while. He actually wrote an entire blog post just using this with a note on the bottom saying AI wrote this. And he didn't change anything. It was fascinating. And the one he did was actually the top 7 books on AI for marketers. And I don't understand how it did it, but it did.
So Cathy, you're saying the AI picked the 7 books?
Yep.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's crazy.
So this just starts giving me sentences and then giving me options for sentences. Just based on what I wanted it to talk about. And again, I think Hyperwrite's got a free version, or at least you can test it out with a free trial. So my experience with these tools is that it's giving me a good starting point. I have never used anything verbatim from what it's given me, but it's given me, you can use Hyperwrite to do outlines, to do posts, to do blog posts, to do, I mean, anything you want, it can, from a content creation standpoint, it can help you with. But again, I use it as my starting point, as my draft, never as my final version. The one time Mike did it for that article, I think it was the only time he ever used it for the final version. But just fascinating how that one works. So there are the ones that I taught: Grammarly, Copy.ai, Descript, YouTube, Hyperwrite were the ones I showed you. Like I said, many of them have free 2-week trials, 10-day trials. There's so much more out there than what I know and what I've had time to learn. And then, like I said, our website has many use cases. And if you typed in AI plus content marketing, AI plus social media, Mike's done a good job of writing up just, you know, here's 10 use cases for content marketers, how you can use AI to help you do your job, part of your job. And here's 5 tools you could look at that he's vetted. And we haven't scratched the surface on all the tools that are out there, but the ones that are listed, you know, they're worth looking into. You know, there have been some that he's looked at and he said, doesn't seem like the best fit, but, or there are better tools out there than these, but here's some good starting points. So it's pretty cool that, and as he learns more, that we call those our pillar pages. Those pillar pages, he doesn't like only put 5 up. He just keeps adding to them. So we're talking about trying to create just a database of all the social media tools, all the, you know, analytics tools, things like that. And that's it. And I'll turn this off, then we can ask or answer some questions. But we have an event in August. I thought I'd throw that in there. No pressure, obviously. Our intro to AI that Rich put in the chat. And then we've got a Slack group too that I'm trying to grow, and just trying to hear from marketers like, I really wish there was a tool for this, or I really wish someone could show me how to do this, that, you know, I'm then taking back to our chief content officer and saying, I got a blog post idea for you. So that's what I have. So I'm going to turn this off, and then we can dig through some of the questions.
Thanks, Cathy. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. I'll start, Cathy, with Jenny in the chat. Would AI generated copy pass plagiarism detectors?
Yes. actually, my daughter asked me the same question, the one in college. There are plagiarism things set up in many of the, in the good tools. Yeah.
I was recently looking at Forrester's 2022 predictions, and they predicted that 75% of AI-based marketing would fail because there wouldn't be enough value generated for the consumer during the process. I guess my question is, how do you make sure that as you engage with customers using AI, that the things you provide to them are human enough that they don't feel like they're being shortchanged?
I think it just takes a savvy marketer that cares. There's a lot of, we talk a lot about responsible AI, ethical AI. So something like content creation, I think that's an easy one that for us to take a look and say, either this is truthful to our customers, this is beneficial to our customers and things like that. But when you get into analytics and things where you get a report and you can't take that at face value just because AI told you it was, told you so. That's when a human needs to come in and make sure that they look at it, they vet it, they talk to people on their team, professional, some of the partners who might be able to tell them you're on track or you're not. That it's not just AI gave it to me and I'm done. And I think that's the thing about what Paul was saying about the marketer plus machine. It's always going to be those two things together. It's not going to be one or the other.
Great, thank you.
So do you get a lot of...
Oh, go ahead, Todd.
Okay. So do you get a lot of good questions or a lot of good requests from marketers saying, I wish it could do this or what can do that? It kind of reminds me a little bit of back when the car was invented. If you were to ask people what they wanted, they'd just say a faster horse or a faster horse and buggy. Are we kind of the same, us marketers in that world today?
Well, I think it goes back to like use cases where it's not like, I want AI to do this. It's like when I'm sitting down and thinking like, what tools do I think that I could even, one, know how to use, and two, that would benefit me, I think to myself, I don't want to spend 8 hours writing social media copy. So I'm going to find a tool that can help me do that. It's finding my pain points, the things I'm spending a crazy amount of time on, the things I don't like doing. I don't mind writing, but it does take a lot of time. Or I'm just stuck, so it's like, what problem can this help me solve versus I want AI in my life? But no, I should ask, that's a good question on, are there certain things that people wish AI could do? I've heard more things like, I wish this tool had a little bit of AI in it so it could do it better, or so I wouldn't need to have so much human oversight. But I don't know the answer to that question.
It's really listening for pain points and then you going back and saying, here's pain points I keep hearing, and letting,
For sure.
Connecting the dots yourself internally. It's like, okay, here's this tool can address that.
And I think with all of us trying to do so many things that, in our day, like people that say like, what does average week look like? I mean, every week is different. Every day is different and depends on what you're working on that day. And so what are some things that can get taken off marketers' plates to help us? And like I said, so I was very, very conscious of, okay, I saved all these hours doing, using copy.ai for the Macon stuff. And I'm like, okay, I can't waste those hours like on LinkedIn, surfing LinkedIn, just use beneficial time on LinkedIn, but sometimes there's not, or surfing TikTok or doing something else. So I'm like, so I called customers and I spent 15 minutes on the phone with dozens of customers. And like, a computer can't do that. I got blog post ideas. I got just connected with people, talk to humans. Like that's so much more valuable in my life than some of the things that computers can help me with. So that's like just keeping that human element in it and the empathy and all that.
A related comment and then a question. Thank you, Cathy, for your presentation on those demos. I was pleased to see it. And up front, you said it's not that the robots take our jobs, that we have more time to be, say, creative. And so I was pleased to see in your demo, you weren't just taking the AI suggestions verbatim, in that you with some license, you're using your brain, your creativity to then make the content better than the AI could. My concern would be, so here's my comment, is that whatever pattern matching the ML's doing, it's based on, I don't know, whatever corpus of content it's pointed at. Is it a race to sort of mediocrity, to like, this is average, this is the content that it knows about. And so, I don't know, does it all kind of become the same? It feels like there might be a risk there. Like I think all of us want our marketing to stand out, to have an advantage, to grab, earn, and keep that valuable attention among an audience. And if it's all just, well, the bot wrote it, I'm searching for that blog from your colleague. That, yeah, if you could send a link to that, I just some comments, just some thinking. I'm like, wow, would I use that? Is it going to be as good or better than what? Hopefully, it's given me time to be creative.
Right.
And there's a question there somewhere. Oh, the question I also have is, are you aware of these tools also taking search engine optimization into consideration?
There's a tool, Market Muse.
That's right. I think, yeah, they've been a guest speaker here.
Yeah, I'm sure Jeff's, yeah. He's awesome. But yes, they do take that into account. And there might be a tool that you want to use for content creation, then you can run it through Market Muse. So there's not one tool that does all of these things. Even from a creative standpoint or an advertising standpoint. If you want a tool that can create your ads, write your copy, schedule your ads, analyze your, all of these different things within one portal, you're probably going to need a couple tools to do all that as of today.
Thanks.
Well,
I do agree with the fact that if things start to sound the same or doesn't sound, if it's not as exciting as you were doing previously, then maybe it's an outline that'll help you with instead of drafting all the copy for you. How is it best suited for you?
What I kind of want to do, what I kind of do is take all my old blog posts and run through a tool and seeing what it'll do to them. What new concepts will it pull in? Because things are getting traffic, and why create something new if I can really enhance what's already there?
Well, and to that point, if you're loading all of your stuff in there, it's going to Rich's point, it's going to learn how you write, and it's going to learn that you write exceptionally. So it's going to give you an exceptional output.
Well, maybe we do that for you, but yeah, it'll give me output that looks like me.
Right. It'll sound like you, and you're successful, and it'll be more of that. I'm looking at the chat too.
Chat from Matthew. Do you want to speak about this tool you created, Matthew, or site?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Matthew. I'm a software developer by day, and by night, I do quite a bit of content marketing and just messing around with stuff like that. But thanks, Cathy, for this talk. Definitely hit on a lot of things I've been trying to do and just ways I'm trying to semi-automate workflows. But yeah, I've been working on this tool called Newsletter to Socials, and pretty much you put in your RSS feed, your blog, or a newsletter you have lying around, and it'll help guide you. It's not automated, but it'll help guide you to create social media content. So Instagram images, Pinterest pins, different things like that. And still in the early days, but if anyone's interested, definitely please reach out, and I'd be happy to work with you and get it to fit exactly your work stream. So
we'll check it out. Thanks, Matthew.
Yeah, Dennis,
yeah,
maybe
for sure.
Point your content corner at it, Dennis.
There is one tool. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's one tool called rasa.io, rasa.io, and Paul's known them for a long time. And what they can do is their email personalization. So if all of us on this call, our first email would be the same. And then I open an email about content marketing. Dennis opens one about this topic. Tom opens one about this topic. Our next emails will be different. And then every single time it's learning what we're doing. And then we're going to get all these personalized messages based specifically on what we've been, our actions. So that's, and right now I think they're working with HubSpot to see if they can integrate with them, but they can just buy them as a standalone. So there's just so much out there. I mean, I'm sure Tom could even speak to all the things that they're doing.
Yeah, and for customer data platforms, yeah, there's a lot of AI helping personalize next best offer, which channels people want to communicate in, that kind of thing to keep it really personal, and also try to match what people want. So definitely that's one aspect.
Kathy, you were, earlier you had shown the levels, level 0 to level 4, where 0 is no AI and 4 is fully autonomous.
Mhm.
I'm going to make a guess that you're 2, half and half. Is that a good guess?
Oh, no, 1 for sure. I mean,
You're a 1?
I'm a 1 for sure. I
1.
mean,
Okay.
I'm using it. I'm just, like I said, I've been marketing for 30 years, but I've been doing this for 10 months. So I'm just, and I think that's what I'm telling Paul and Mike. It's just like, there's so many people that have been around a long time that how can we just get started? Show me some use cases. Show me, hi, Brian, just show me some examples of easy wins for me so I can then feel, okay, that this is comfortable. I'm gonna just take it one step further.
Yeah, Kathy, I think hands-on is good. And we found even in some of our work, if people try to be push button marketers and let the machines do all the work, then the quality goes away and the effectiveness goes away. So it's kind of like, I think that combination of hands-on with the machine.
It's just like content marketing, the content, there's so much content out there and we're just pumping out content. The ones that surface are the ones that are being, the most thoughtful posts, the ones that are doing it on a cadence, they can actually deliver epic content. Same thing with this. Like, you just can't have a computer pump out all the stuff for you and expect it to give you what you need.
So Brian Piper, I see Brian just joined. Brian, I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you using any AI in your marketing?
We are not currently, but I'm using like Otter AI for transcription, and I'm using bits and pieces of AI where they seem effective and appropriate. But I'm very interested in, it's definitely moving forward, definitely progressing very quickly, and there are some implementations that are, already having impact and look very effective, at least for a part of the experience and the journey. I know there are some writing tools out there that people are working on that are great, like First Draft. It's a great way to just put out an initial concept and then go back and clean that up. So I'm sorry I was in another meeting, but I'll have to come back and watch the recording. Great to see you, Kathy.
You too. So there's another tool called Celtra, CELTRA, and they are a creative tool. And a lot of big brands like Spotify uses them, Adidas. And you can plug in like a 728 by 90 ad, banner ad. And you could say, I want a 300 by 250. I want a 600 by 160. Check. I want all these things. And it'll resize everything for you. Great. Canva can do that. But what Celtra does is if you move the logo a little bit over here on the on the 300 by 250, or you change the background color, Celtra learns your preferences and learns the preferences of other creative people that are in their platform. And then next time you try to do another project, it knows what you did and what everyone else is doing and makes your second version even better, which is crazy because it was funny. We did this webinar with them, and the day before I had just spent a number of hours resizing ads for our event from last year. I'm like, where were you last week? I really could have used this. And it's just so cool how many things are out there. So it's just a matter of looking, because every day we're surfacing new stuff. And one thing we're doing is we're looking at some of these technologies. We're following a lot of the funding, who's getting funding, because that just means that there's something there. So those are the ones that we're trying to, if we're prioritizing which ones we should be checking out, that definitely makes us give it a second look.
And I apologize if you already addressed this, Kathy, but do you know of, or are you guys doing like a running list of, AI technology that you've examined, reviewed, looked at, seems to be good?
Yeah, on our website, we have some pillar pages that say like AI and content marketing, AI and social media marketing, AI and analytics. It's just giving 5 or 6 use cases for each of those things. And here's some way you can use AI. And then here's some tools that we've looked at that you could too, with a big asterisk saying we haven't scratched the surface. So as we're finding them, we're adding them to those pages.
I have a quick kind of comment question too. First of all, I consider myself the Terminator generation. I was in high school when the Terminator came out, so I was like, no, AI is bad, but a colleague of mine recommended it's similar to the ones you mentioned. It's called AnyWord, ANY word.
Yep.
And it kind of comes from a different point of view. Instead of matching your tone, it matches what you want to say to the reader, which I thought was really helpful, because there's one that there's a category they call explain it to a fifth grader. And it's like super, super basic. And it has, looking at some of the other ones, and more from the marketing standpoint too. It'll change it to have like a value proposition, or, problem, problem solution type of flow, which I found helpful. But what I realized, because I was thinking it's like, oh, I have to take just exactly what it says, but as you mentioned earlier, it's kind of turning us more into editors instead of doing that first draft writer, which
Right.
That's what I find really awesome, because that saves me hours at least. But as much as I like writing, I think I prefer the editing part better.
Yeah. And that's personal preference too,
Yeah.
Someone might like the outline. Someone might just say like, I'm not using it for content creation. I'm going to use it for analytics because that's the stuff I'm really, I don't want to, I really do like the writing. I do like the thinking and all that. So, that's the thing. You just use it what you want it to, what you want it for. So I just put a spotlight. We just did a spotlight on AnyWord on our website. Cool tool.
This is interesting.
Kat, you mentioned, was it Celtra?
Celtra. Mm-hmm.
Celtra. Have you heard of any tools where it's like, here's my blog post, I want to create a social media ad. Here's what I want the ad to convey, and like it generates the design for it?
Oh, no, but that would be amazing.
Yeah, I bet that's coming. I bet someone's working on it.
I mean, gosh, if anyone's heard of something like that, spread the word.
Yeah.
I was going to say lately.ai, they can take your blog post and give you social media ideas from it.
Yep.
But not the creative. That's genius. let's this group we can all fund
yeah,
that.
someone should build it. Maybe
we
Matthew,
should build it together.
You can build that next, Matthew.
Thinking about it.
Now, I've seen a demonstration of Lately, and they can spit out a lot. Depending on how long your blog post is, they spit out a lot of content.
And I'm not really one big on, social media. Here's your optimal time. Here's when you should do it on Tuesdays at this time and all that. But there's something to be said for a tool like Lately that can actually see what's working and tell you when you should be scheduling it. So, I mean, again, it's just like, try it, see the results if you're, and have the human insight to look at that and say, okay, this is not right, or let's test it and let's, in a month, let's look at the month prior versus what Lately was recommending and see like, hey, is this better for us? So, and then I was looking at Sprinkler. They, I still use TweetDeck. I have my columns in TweetDeck. I have my lists. That's how I do social listening, because Sprinkler is not a cheap technology and we're a small company, so we just can't do it right now. But they can tell you, they can kind of triage if you are a restaurant chain and you're getting bombarded by all this technology, or all these tweets and everything. It can say, okay, this one needs attention, move it up. This one's just saying we had a great meal. You need to respond to it at some point, but that's not, you don't need to respond right this second. So it can kind of, it can give you that, it can hear the sentiment. It can tell you, if someone gave you a glowing review, you're like, okay, that's for my testimonials, or that's, for me to find some brand advocates. And it can take all your social media and really do a better job of just categorizing it for you and telling you, here's where I need to focus. Again, that would be something I would love to have.
Okay, see, Jeff Rigo has rejoined. Jeff, I believe you have some exciting things you're doing with AI. Do you want to tell us about it?
We can't hear you.
You're on mute, Jeff.
We need an AI to unmute you in Zoom.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I've been driving and listening to this because this is a pretty interesting topic, and I was trying to make sure that I don't meet with an accident while driving.
Thank you.
But Yeah, but I caught quite a bit of it. Exciting thing, what we're doing NLG. We are obviously a content experience platform. From NLG's perspective, we're doing recommendations for from within the assets, right? The assets get loaded up, and now how can you take that particular asset and then figure out what is, in terms of it, if it's not discovered from an SEO description and title perspective, right? So we do an ordered suggestion based on the keywords and the kind of tone. We will do suggestions for assets. Also for ads, I think Cathy was talking about ads. We're doing ads for LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as Google, based on the assets that are already created. But something else is like it's the feedback, right? We're doing what's called content chat. Again, it's AI based. So while people are looking at content, right, they say they want to find out for the content that they're reading. Right now, it's mostly keyword search to find aspects associated with the content. But say you're reading a paper on account-based marketing, for example, right? And you say, what is ABM? And then you can have the chat with So now you get to know for the content that you created, you know, what's working, what is not working, what questions they have. So we're doing some little bit more advanced AI thing. We call it conversational content. And those are the three kind of modules that we released as part of a conversation content module, which is very interesting to see how AI comes out. The more context you give it, the more learning it gets, the better it gets, is what we are seeing.
Well, that's awesome. You should do a vendor spotlight on our blog.
Sure. I'll have our CMO, James. He's the guy who does a lot of stuff, but we'll reach out and we'll talk about exciting things that we're doing.
Yeah, I'd love to showcase good technology.
Awesome.
Jeff, remind me, is that something I can see with Hushly now, or you're still working on it? What stage are you in with?
No. Yeah, it's now you can go in and you can pick up a particular asset right now and say, oh, you know, I want to, for this particular asset, like the auto suggest capability, you can say, hey, for this particular asset, you know, what would you suggest as my title and SEO title and description? Okay. And it will give you the suggestion and it'll give you the reasoning behind the suggestion. You can decide whether you want to accept or not accept it. Same concept for, you know, the suggestion for SEM and content chat.
Cool.
So yeah, it's new. We are learning as we go through this, and the more the learning, then because we're doing it across you know, several different customers for different kind of topics, we're trying to see which particular topics or domains, etc., that work better, right? You know, so what content works better, etc. So we're logging a lot of these events, and then we'll probably from there try to figure out, put some analytical layer on top of it and say, for this audience, for this type of traffic, for this type of content, do the triangulation and then come back with some research report on, you know, what's working in B2B. We mostly in B2B tech. That's most of the topics that we have. So we'll see as we expand, you know, what can we share which is statistically relevant for everyone.
Cool.
That's neat, Jeff. All right, we have time
Thanks.
for one more comment or question. Anyone care to chime in?
I was just going to say,
Okay.
you know, I've been very fortunate to have bosses that are Joe Polizzi and Paul Reitzer, who are, you know, obviously bought into this thing. So I was talking to someone, they're like, how do I go to my boss and say, I want to like pilot AI? I'm like, don't say you're going to pilot AI. Say, I'm going to save time, or I have a better way to do this, better way to get us results. Don't go, I mean, then say, by the way, here's the tool I used. And like I said, you don't need knowing it's AI is the smallest part of it. You know what I mean? It's knowing that technology is working smarter for you.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know there's got to be bosses out there that are somewhat closed-minded. So if you go to them and talk about AI, they'll be like, no, don't spend your time there. But if you if you reframe it, then with the benefit, then it's harder for them to say don't do it.
My husband's been in marketing as long as I have, and he's come to the intro to AI 3 times, and he's like, okay, I think I got it. I think I understand it.
Well, I'll be a repeat visitor. I grok some of it, but one point to what you're just discussing, Paul said, is like, don't be wary of vendors who pitch you on how powerful their AI is. Instead, like, what's the outcome that they
Right.
would help you achieve? So you're going to be more efficient, right? You're going to save cost because on your M2M, most of it's like level 1, level 2 stuff. That's how it's good advice.
Yeah, and there are some tools I'm seeing, when I was at an agency in the 90s, I was just like, oh my gosh, where were you? Where were you then? Like, there's so many cool things that are out there.
Cool.
All right, well, Cathy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And
It was fun.
yeah. So be sure to visit. I know we've been sharing links to the Marketing AI Institute, but you can find that at, I think it's marketingaiinstitute.com. Is that right?
It is.
Okay.
And my email is just Cathy@marketingaiinstitute.com if anyone ever wants to stay in touch. As I'm learning new things, I'm trying to write blog posts because, again, I'm coming to this. Mike and Paul are just like beyond smart with this stuff. And I'm coming in as like, I'm just a marketer. I mean, just a marketer, I'm a marketer. So I'm like, here's my problem. Here's what I did. Here's how I did it. So I'm getting some of that how-to out there. So I'll keep sharing that with everybody. So hopefully you can learn something too.
Sounds good. And thanks
And
everyone.
Cathy,
for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
you'll never be just a marketer.
I know.
No,
I agree.
I actually like the idea. I like the idea of having the beginner's mind, because I think a lot of people get intimidated when you say AI or technology because they go,
Right.
especially marketers.
Thanks,
Anyhow,
everyone.
New
It's so nice
York.
to see all of you.
Great to see everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.